Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today. Welcome to Fire Takes Podcast. I am Gwen, and I am joined by my amazing husband, Tim.
Hi. Hello, everybody.
And we have a fire take for you today.
Well, we have several of them, I believe, but let's get right into our first story here. This comes from Reddit, Am I the Asshole? Would I be the asshole for blowing up at my wife spending our life savings? Last month, my wife and I flew in her sister and her family of two to help us raise our 2-month-old daughter. We are a working couple, but she's still on her maternity leave. The tension began when her sister and family needed to do a visa run. Basically what that is they need to leave where we are, fly to another country, so that they could get a visa to stay here. Since we are asking them a favor to help us out with our daughter, at first I didn't mind that my wife was the one booking their plane tickets and hotel accommodations for the visa run. But then, instead of a smooth in and out process, the thing became one problem after another. First, we dropped them off at the airport, and they realized they need a visa to enter the country they're going to. We all thought it was visa free, so my wife spends our money to get their visa expedited. That also meant we had to rebook their flights, and guess what? Our money. Second, this morning on the return leg, my wife received notification from the airline the flight was delayed. So she passes on the message to her sister. Her sister then decides to arrive at the airport a little later because the delay was 3+ hours. However, what my wife and sister failed to notice is a clause in the notification which states that the check-in time remains the same. So when Sis and family got to the airport, check-in gate was closed, they couldn't board. So again, my wife spends our money to book new flights for them, plus hotel accommodations for a couple of days. All told, 80% of our savings is gone just because of this whole exercise. She did apologize to me over spending our money, but I can't shake the feeling of we worked our ass off for that savings, and God knows we need it. The real kicker in my nuts is that she considered leaving her job to take care of our daughter, which would leave me as the sole source of income in the household. We're already at a situation where I only keep less than 5% of my paycheck and give everything to bills and towards our savings. But after the whole visa run, I'm hours away from telling off my wife to stop babying her older sister over this. I mean, the sister and her husband prepared savings for their journey to help us out. Why don't they spend it? Is it because we're the ones asking for a favor? Anyway, that's my predicament now. I haven't spoken to my wife yet since I woke up and headed to work. I'm still ambivalent about how I feel about this because I feel my decision in the next couple of hours could mean I'm a husband that doesn't understand or I'm a wuss for letting my wife spend all our money just like that.
Okay, well, there's so much to unpack there.
There's a lot.
Okay, so I think it's really nice of them that they spent the money to fly in family to help them out when they have a newborn daughter. Like, that's really great that they have money set aside that they can do that. However, I do tend to agree with OP on the fact that there is some levels of, like, codependency and, like, not their money, so they don't care if they miss the flight or they have to rebook or whatever. Like, just gives a very casual element to that, and that is what would make me upset. I don't think that he should blow up at his wife for spending money, because, like, if you have to rebook a couple of international flights and that takes up 80% of your savings,
right,
you probably don't have a lot of savings in the first place, which isn't that great.
Yeah. That was kind of my immediate take was, you know, we talk a lot about how money and having money gives us freedom, and it gives a lot of our friends in the Phi community freedom to, do things like pick up and go and solve money problems, which largely is a money problem. But if solving this money problem saps all of your savings and now leaves you with nothing while you have this brand new daughter that you're struggling to care for without family support, you're not. This is a lot of stress, and I think it's stress that comes from maybe not having the kind of financial means backing up your needs of your life.
Yeah, and I mean, if you don't express that resentment, that's gonna bubble up and just boil over at some point, and that's not like a healthy thing to keep inside you at all, in a marriage, because Yeah, that's going to be a chink in the armor of your marriage, and you need to like work that stuff out and figure out how you can approach that with your wife together as a team.
Yeah. Another thing I thought about reading this is that this whole unfortunate series of events, it really feels like our protagonist here, the author, is observing this almost in slow motion. He's tallying, he's keeping score on all of the ways that he's, his money is being, wasted. But maybe there was some way to get on top of this, and maybe now having this post-mortem conversation with his wife isn't as powerful if he was completely this casual observer to the situation.
Yeah, we're getting the outside view of what happened instead of the wife checking in, the wife's point of view, like, what is she thinking at this moment? We don't know what the family members are thinking either,
right,
as they go through this. And while we are on that topic, let's just talk about some airports and their check-in processes, because I will do my best to avoid flying through Heathrow with everything in my power that I can possibly manage, because that is the only airport where I have missed my flight because I arrived at the check-in gate like an hour and a half before my flight, and you have to arrive 2 hours before your flight leaves, and that you can't even get through security at all. Like, my flight hadn't even arrived. The gate hadn't even opened, and I had missed my flight. So, like, I get it, because some of these airports are just ridiculous, and you really, really, really need to research where you're going and figure that out ahead of time. So, like, I totally get the family's point of view on that one. Like, it happens. But that being said, like, you need to get travel insurance and really read the fine print of things before you travel somewhere unfamiliar.
Yeah, and just the idea of that this is a situation dealing with immigration. Immigration is hard, right? Like, I don't have immigration experience personally, but like I understand it's a lot of work to go through and get it right. And I can't imagine, like, with my anxiety, I would be an absolute mess, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. All this executive function, you need visas. Like, you need to make sure that you're at the right place at the right time. And, like, no way. Like, that's just so much. And you're doing this for other people where you don't have control over that, making your anxiety even worse.
Yeah, I know. This is a rough situation. And like I said, communication throughout, maybe not communication post-mortem, would have been a better situation. And then plus understanding, maybe thinking about ways to make this more affordable, make this more commensurate with the savings that they have, so that it doesn't get completely wiped out as badly as it did.
Are you advocating that people should get rewards cards and use points to offset the cost of travel?
I don't think I advocated that. I don't think them spending $550 on an annual fee for a rewards card would have necessarily helped in this situation. It's not quite the silver bullet, I think, that you might think it is, but
that's fair.
There are other situations when your high annual fee card might come in handy. I do not think that this is one of the selling points of the high annual fee rewards card.
That's probably fair. Help your in-laws on travel emergencies.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Heck of a tagline.
Make sure your in-laws can sit in the lounge whenever they're stuck in immigration.
Peach Bellini? Why, yes, please.
All right. We do have some updates, which I think help us through here. He does say he has a conversation with my wife, and it was a weight off my shoulders. We decided together to set boundaries on how much we spend towards our in-laws. I haven't opened up the matter of her quitting her job one problem at a time. So that's a good start of,
definitely.
Hey, this, even just expressing, hey, the fact we just spent a bunch of money on your family caused me anxiety. How can we mitigate that in the future? That's a good start. OP emphasizes that this sister is her older sister. So, like, setting that boundary of, hey, you're caring for this sister. Maybe there's a long history of irresponsibility that's in the subtext here. So I think that's establishing boundaries and making sure that your marriage can survive.
Interfamily conflict.
Right. Survive.
Interfamily dynamics.
Yeah. Survive contact with the enemy. Yeah. was the term I was searching my head for.
Yeah, I do think it is smart that he attacked one problem at a time and didn't conflate the two. Even though both situations are causing him stress, I think it's different approaches for both situations, and he is wise to take a moment and let the dust settle from this one, get those boundaries set on spending money on the in-laws while they're here, and then later they can tackle the whole quitting her job conversation on, if they have enough income to make it work for their new family of at least 3. They didn't say they have other kids, but
Right.
I do find it interesting that she's on maternity leave and they have family coming in to help. So
Yeah.
must be nice to have maternity leave.
Right.
Thanks, US.
Yeah, needing that family in, and that might be true too, is the difference between a need and a want in this particular situation, because you need to survive. Maybe if you're on maternity leave, it's not the right time. It's a want that you want your family to be with you. I'm not going to judge all of their living situations of like not living in the same country as your family can cause it to be difficult whenever you start having children. Just like even in the state, being a few states away from your parents can make your life a lot harder whenever you don't have that built-in babysitter and all that comes with having nice local grandparents for your children. There is another interesting update here. He says, "Thanks everyone for making me realize this is the price I pay for being disengaged in the process. I should have done my due diligence and helped my wife out with checking and verifying information. Plus, I never thought of looking at it from an employee perspective since they're family, so I looked at it through that. Your comments made me realize it's not a you deal with your family, I deal with mine type of deal. We as a couple got to look out for each other's backs." I thought this was a really good, that's a really good update. And it speaks to kind of that observer of a slow motion train wreck that he was, and getting more involved, really could have helped. And if not solving it, it could have also brought him some empathy to the situation of like, okay, he was in it, he did his best, it still happened. Now he's not resentful for it.
They also said, we might get some money back because the airline they initially had booked is willing to give us a refund. Apparently other passengers also got affected by the 3-hour delay and missed the plane. Silver lining, I guess. This is my final update for now. Man, everyone here has been brutally honest, and it stings, yes, but it's much needed. Thank you. I'd also like to add in the fact that OP says that they live in the UAE, and that the savings that he was talking about was meant for us to migrate elsewhere. But it looks like that process has been set back quite a bit in terms of saving up, which I think adds a really interesting dynamic to this topic, because it's not U.S. centric. Not everything is about the amazing America. But the UAE can be fraught for some people who are living there, and there's a lot to be stressed about, I think, when you're in a country like the UAE where they're notoriously, let's just say, difficult to work with as a foreigner, and even more so might be facing discrimination from their employer based upon their country of origin. The wife might be facing extra discrimination because she is a woman. So, I think that adds an extra layer of context for this discussion as to why everything is so stressful, because that money was already earmarked for something, and something very important to them.
Sure. Right. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. That's really interesting that it's not just, hey, we had this money saved for, future consumerism. It's, hey, we had this money to get ourselves in a completely better situation. Interesting.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Gwen.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. Our next story is from our Boggleheads. This is a subreddit that started popping up on my feed recently as I've read more and more financial stuff.
You're welcome.
Oh yeah, is it? Oh, okay. Are you behind this? Or oh no, you're behind me looking at financial stuff. Okay,
Yep.
I see. So, Boggleheads are passive investors who follow Jack Bogle's simple but powerful message to diversify with low-cost index funds. So, I mean, this is that kind of feels like J.L. Collins, Simple Path to Wealth, kind of same message of, hey, put your money, invest consistently in low-cost index funds, and one day you'll wake up and you realize you're a millionaire. So, anyway, from our Boggleheads. Married Boggleheads, do you share any retirement accounts, Roth, traditional, etc., with your spouse? Why or why not? Right now, I, 39 female, have my own retirement accounts, 401k, Roth IRA, about $200,000. My husband, 41 male, has a 401k from his job, under 50k. He claims that only his employer contributes and they don't allow the employees to contribute or deduct from their paychecks, which I find odd. I try to encourage him to open up an IRA, but he just doesn't seem interested or is proactive about growing a retirement fund. I'm concerned that my retirement account alone might not be enough to support two people by the time we retire in like 20 to 30 years. So I'm curious if anyone else here shares in a retirement account with their spouse. Does anyone else have a significant other who is not really focused on growing their retirement? Any tips or further encouragement?
Oof. I applaud OP for reaching out to the interwebs and asking, because I think there is definitely something happening here. So her husband is 41 and has a 401k from his job that says it has under $50,000 in it. So I took the liberty of looking that up, and the average balance of a 40-year-old male is $91,000. So her husband is notably behind on saving for retirement. But also, like, it's pretty weird that he says only his employer contributes and that they don't allow him to. Like, that's illegal. Like, if your employer has a 401k account and you're not allowed to contribute to it, that's not how 401k works.
Right.
Like, somebody needs to take a harder look at that, because that's not right. On that. I mean, I have an employer retirement account that I'm not allowed to contribute to, but that is a pension account. That's my traditional retirement account that is not a 401k. So they're allowed to set that rule. So my thought was either that her husband doesn't understand what kind of retirement account he has, or he's actively trying to muddy the water so he doesn't have to put more of his money into a retirement account and have less to spend.
Right. And I think that's really probably what's going on here. We have kind of in our life surrounded ourselves with a lot of people who care about this stuff, this, retirement, 401ks, and setting themselves up, for even early retirement. But that is not the norm, right? Like, most people don't overly concern themselves with retirement or want to put off enjoying their money for a later time. And if you partner up with someone randomly without having conversations about that, chances are you're going to have at best a mixed marriage where one person cares and one person doesn't, or both people don't care. That's going to be the most common random sampling of two people in the world, right?
Yep.
So it's really important, I think, to discuss this ahead, and I think OP who does care about it, because just as you said, his $50,000 401k is under average. I would imagine then, as a 39 female, her 200,000 is above average. So
yep.
So it is important to her, not important to him, and I think he's up. I agree. He's probably obfuscating.
And it's actually interesting here. So OP says, I'm curious if anyone else shares a retirement account with their spouse. So retirement accounts from your employer are by nature individual. Like, you don't have joint ownership. I have no claim to your 401k, you have no claim to mine. But the fact that we are married does mean that automatically one of us, the other one is added to the account as primary beneficiary, and there are benefits allowed by law and the account set up that gives them extra claims over the money that's in that retirement account. We just got married. I added him as my husband in the accounts, and it automatically changed over from my beneficiaries that I had in place to him 100%. And if I want to go change that, now I have to go back and change that. But that's like the immediate rule. But it's just so, yeah, there's funny business going on here, and I don't.
Well, and just to speak as, from a little bit of experience on the joint, 401k, agree there's no such thing as a true joint 401k. But in my previous marriage, we had me saving for retirement and her going to school, working small jobs with not inconsistent companies that did not really support having like a whole separate 401k. So,
and in the aftermath of the Great Recession.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That too. But so at the end of our marriage, we had to take my 401k, basically divide it in half, and say, okay, here, you guys, you guys together had a 401k. It turns out, so it's not really joint, but just like you're saying, the rules and the laws make it joint in the case of a dissolution.
Yeah, so OP says, I kept asking him to look into this claim by his employer, but he just gets irritated, so I stopped mentioning it. As far as divorce, we live in New York, and I just looked it up. New York considers Roth and 401k to be marital property if opened after marriage, which hers are. So if they were to divorce, God forbid, she would be in that same boat and having to split up what she has put in there. So, yeah, it's kind of a double whammy for OP, is that she has been putting more of her money away, spending less. Her husband has been putting away less and spending more, but also he gets to take part of that money that she set aside.
Yeah, so that's a really good point, is that, you make sure that, because right now she thinks she has a $200,000 Roth IRA or 401k. She really has $125,000 in Roth IRA because of their combined divided by 2 is not 200,000.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to encourage to communicate about your retirement accounts, make sure everybody's on the same page, rowing in the same direction, so that you guys can reach the goals that you want to reach together.
Yeah, so somebody says that your husband likely has a 401a plan, sometimes referred to as a pension plan, even though it really is not. Basically only accepts employer contributions. Employees are sometimes able to elect one time to contribute when they first join, but they can never change their contribution again, which is a weird rule, and many plans prohibit it entirely. So, OP responded and said, I've never heard of a 401a plan, but it sounds like this might be it. He's been with the company a long time, so it's possible that they exercise the stupid rule not allowing contributions from employees. So, if that's the case, then she's going to ask OP to look into it, make sure that it's a 401a, and if that's the case, then they need to open up an IRA for him. But on the other hand, that also means that he probably has a pension coming in,
Right.
which they should also look into, because if that's the case, then OP may be entitled to part of his pension benefits.
Sure.
As well, based on the law and the plan setup. So,
and I feel bad we're talking about these two as they're going to divorce. Like, that's not important. Maybe that's not as important as OP is not. It's not so much that she's entitled to half of this pension. It's what's maybe more important is that she will be supported.
Yeah.
And now their retirement could take them into the future here. So.
Yeah, no, and I didn't mean for it to come off like,
Sure.
the whole divorce thing. But, yeah, it's just really, I think OP needs to figure out why her husband's getting a little squirrely about getting this all figured out, and sit down and make sure that they have a clear idea of what their actual financial situation looks like. Because it sounds like there's just a lot of mud in the water, and things are pretty murky, and they can't see things clearly. And if you can't see things clearly, that makes it hard to plan for the future.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and you can't see it, and if you can't see it, you can't communicate about it, and it's not gonna get any better then. Okay, I got one more topic here. It should be quick, but it should be fun. This is from Our Personal Finance. It asks, am I crazy for spending more than the car value in repairs instead of just buying a new car? My wife and I own a 2008 Toyota Matrix, bought brand new, has 80,000 miles on it, still runs good. We only average 3,500 miles a year. There are some minor repairs needed, as well as a bunch of body rust and dents. The rust expanded far faster than I expected, and the primary expense, it'll cost $7,000 to repair. The car is maybe worth $3,500. We are leaning towards spending the money for repairs, but my family thinks it's crazy. They think we should just buy a new car, that it's a waste to spend more than the car's value to repair. We see it more as only spending $7,000 instead of the $20,000 to $30,000 we'd rather avoid buying pre-owned. Ideally, we want to hold cars until the bitter end. My fault for letting that rust progress so far. We are fairly sure the repair option makes sense. Just need Reddit to double check our thinking. And they do an edited update. Thank you for all the feedback. Really try my best to respond as much as possible. Wife and I decided to hold off on the rust repair and we'll just do the $2,000 of the $7,000 for mechanical work. We look into the used market, but we'll probably just wait until the rust looks ugly enough for us to want to sell the car. So I thought that was important, that $2,000 of it is really like mechanical, and $5,000 was just cosmetic, I guess.
So they have a car that's 16, 17 years old. It only had, what did it have?
80,000 miles.
80,000
miles on a Toyota is barely broken in.
Yeah. So it's a Toyota Matrix. They bought it brand new. They're the only owners, and they only average 3,500 miles a year. So, like, this isn't a car that is a daily driver that is 100% necessary, 100% critical for them to have in their house, it sounds like. I have actually some very interesting insight on this because I owned a 2005 Pontiac Vibe, which is mechanically the exact same thing as a Toyota Matrix with just slightly different bodywork on the outside. My car was rapidly approaching 200,000 miles, and it was my only car. It was my daily driver. If I needed to take a car somewhere, that's the car I was going to take. There was no other option. And so I always said that I would keep a car until the wheels fell off, and then it turns out that the wheels fell off a couple of times, and I just put the wheels back on and kept driving it. But I approached a point very similar to OP where it was breaking down often, things started needing to be replaced, and I just wasn't able to afford the downtime of being able to be without a car because I didn't have a backup. So ultimately, and I kept getting ripped off by repair shops because I'm a woman and I have to pay that tax sometimes.
Fun.
So super cool. Love that. But I chose to get rid of the car and I sold it to my apartment complex maintenance guy for his niece for $500. They sank $2,000 into it to get it up and running to the point where she could be safe driving around. And I bought a new used car for me.
Oh, a new used.
Because, interestingly enough, coming at this from the fire perspective, like that car was listed on Mr. Money Mustache's list of top 10 cars for the fire movement. It was very low maintenance, could fit so much stuff in it. Great car. Parts are easy to come by because it's a Toyota. But, like, I don't have the mechanical know-how to fix cars. I mean, I did a little bit based on YouTube, but, like, I don't have the tools. I don't have the shop to do it. I don't have the time. So for me, like, having a cheap car, that's not a priority in my life anymore. It is reliability is the most important factor for me. So that's why I chose to get rid of it.
Yeah. No, I think that's all a good input, right? It's an interesting story and kind of a different side of the coin, whereas these folks have a very underutilized car, right? This car will go another 200,000 miles, right?
Easy. If it doesn't fall apart from rust first.
Yeah. Right. If they could lift off the body and put a new body on, 100%, 200. So it's also a good warning of, hey, rust is developing in my car. I've got maybe 60,000 miles on it. If they'd have nipped it in the bud right then, maybe it was a $500 repair and it wouldn't have gotten worse, right? Because I'm I would say that I'm not hugely concerned about cosmetics on my car, right? Like I've got a couple of scrapes and scratches, but I fully, I've got 150,000 miles of my Honda. I fully expect it to go another 100,000 easy, and I'm probably not going to throw thousands of dollars of body work on it to make it look factory new. So it is easy to overlook that stuff because it doesn't affect the getting you from A to B, which is the primary purpose of your car. But if you can make the right adjustments whenever something is, especially if something's going to get worse, then you're going to be in much better shape there.
Yeah, it's easier to fix the oil leak in your engine than have to replace the entire engine or get a new car.
That is true. I think those are 3 great stories. Appreciate the feedback, Gwen, and all of your fire takes. And it was a lot of fun talking through them with you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. If you have a story to share, you can email us at firetakespod@gmail.com, or you can head over to our subreddit, which is
reddit.com/r/fire takes. And we'll be posting links to all of our stories that we talk about there. And then plus, if any of you have stories that you stumble upon on Reddit and you want to repost them over to our subreddit, we will consider them for our own fire takes.
Well, thanks for joining us today, and have a great time.
Thanks. Thanks again for listening. This has been the Fire Takes Podcast. This is an entertainment podcast, and Gwen and I are not financial planners. You can reach us at firetakespod@gmail.com or check us out at reddit.com/r/firetakes. See more from Gwen at fierymillennials.com. Thanks all.